Not Roy's first rodeo. Once again, Lord Lupton shows the power of love and how the rut is a fantastic management tool.
The reputation's at stake here, but basically...
My reputation's at stake?
Yeah.
What reputation? You've destroyed my reputation.
How available is game? We challenge our news correspondent Deborah to find venison for a barbecue. Young guns, the kids from the Northern Cape Professional Hunting School are guiding Ollie Williams onto a kudu. Plus, rangefinders, this time it's personal. Robbie from Cluny Country says one size does not fit all.
In terms of fit, definitely.
We're giving away a Spypoint Force 20 game camera, kindly donated by Bailey's Shooting and Country Wear. We have news, we have hunting YouTube. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. David Attenborough has travelled the world bringing wildlife spectacles to our screens, and yet there are so many on our doorstep that the big TV networks ignore. The Roebuck rut is one of them. Thankfully, Roy's Roe senses have told him that it's time for us to head to Hampshire for an early morning stalk to celebrate this summer performance.
It would be nice if the rut is in full swing and we're seeing it this morning. If not, we might just have to wait around a little bit and we'll just keep moving to little spots, have a call, move to another spot, have a call, and eventually, hopefully, we shall get something come into play.
Roy sets up on the largest shooting rest available and starts his routine. His target is the big wood on the hill. However, a doe appears to our right, slowly followed by a young buck. He trundles along the field edge and Roy picks him up on the trigger cam. It's a youngster he knows.
He's only a 4-pointer. He's obviously got some length to him this year, but I quite like him. He's just an interesting little indicator buck to have on the ground. So I'm just going to leave him. I don't want to take him yet. He's never going to throw much of a better shaped head than that, but obviously he's going to get bigger.
They disappear into the wood. The buck reappears seconds later. He's thought better of it.
He obviously knows if he ends up in there, he's going to get himself in a whole world of hurt and end up in a bit of a pub brawl that he doesn't want to be in. So as I say, he's just come back out into his territory, which isn't as prime as that territory there. So yeah.
I feel sorry for him.
I know, he's so cute. He's a lovely little thing. Yeah, so many times I'd see him and he would just be couched up down here and he'd just be, obviously keeping his head down, not wanting to upset the bigger boys.
It gives us a nice boost of confidence. The roe are feeling the love. The next few spots are not as successful. Roy puts it right in the middle of likely territories, but nothing. With tummies rumbling, there's one spot left before a late, early breakfast, and to see if the wind drops and the temperature rises. It's another young buck.
He just came in beautifully, came into about 30, 40 yards. And the moment he stepped into the field, he was in range. But again, this just gives you that opportunity to get out, have a play. So he was about, if you want a classical 6-point, then he's probably going to be, well, he would be better than that. Obviously, the buck we saw earlier. We keep the numbers topped off here, but we haven't got any real requirement to really hammer the deer here. So we can be very selective with what we do. But yeah, that was lovely. He was certainly on a string, that one.
It's now late morning, and with mouths to feed at home, Roy is keen to find venison for the boys helping with the falcons back at base.
I think your reputation's at stake here, that basically...
My reputation's at stake?
Yeah,
what reputation? You've destroyed my reputation a long time ago.
That's true.
Shh, we're going in for dinner.
You're not shooting stuff.
I'm not shooting, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I know, but you just told me you need to get something on the deck.
No, we do need to. I've got a lot of hungry lads back at home, and if we don't bring any meat back, then...
They're the ones in the cages.
The 4-point should have really been on the menu this morning, but yeah, I spent a lot of time watching him, and he's quite an interesting. He's quite an interesting little character, and it's going to be interesting to see what he turns into.
So basically, as we get older, we're going to get less and less inclined to actually
squeeze the trigger.
Fieldsports channel.
But this is
going to be.
It's Fieldsports nature appreciation. There you go.
Well, no,
it's always exactly. No, I mean but this is part of it, isn't it? Oh, there's a deer moving through. There. Hang on, we better get moving. That's it. No. Yeah, but you're very noisy. Come
A doe crashes through the undergrowth and pops up in front of us. We leave Hampshire empty-handed but rich in Roebuck intel. It's as much about immersing yourself in nature as pulling the trigger, and an opportunity to confirm or deny your bucks are where you think they are. If you fancy a new or used Leica Fortis scope, a pair of Leica rangefinders, or even a Tikka T3X, then Kitfinder it. Go to kitfinder.co.uk and connect with the biggest network of gun shops in the UK. Thank you, Roy. Next, someone else who's there for display purposes only. It's David on the Fieldsports Channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. The government has rejected a Home Office proposal to restrict the use of air guns by teenagers aged between 14 and 17. The new Crime and Policing Minister Tom Pursglove made the announcement in a statement on the outcome of the Home Office's 2020 firearm safety consultation in England and Wales. It's a victory for BASC's lengthy campaign on the issue. BASC Head of Firearms Bill Harriman says hundreds of thousands of under-18s use air guns safely on private premises, and the government couldn't find a single case where the restrictions were necessary.
I think it's also so important because it's entry level for so many young people to the sport, and to have that responsibility of using an air rifle without supervision, that just develops further responsibility.
More than 3,000 people have taken part so far in a survey on the impartiality of the BBC. The Countryside Alliance is doing the research after the broadcaster announced a review into its nature TV show Countryfile following complaints. However, the Alliance is concerned that the BBC's internal investigation is too narrow and will not reflect the concerns that the rural community has about the coverage. The Alliance's survey also asks about the BBC's Springwatch and Farming Today shows.
They expect the BBC to be fair and balanced. They don't expect to get everything that they want. They don't want to see the world exclusively through their eyes. They just want the BBC to be neutral and fair and cover rural issues in an engaging way, but also with the countryside, not to the countryside. I think that's the key message that we're getting.
If you want to take part in that survey, there's a link in the description below. Now, staff from a Nottinghamshire hunt have saved horses from a wildfire. The South Notts Hunt stepped in to help firefighters tackling a major blaze at Blidworth. Farmers made a plea for help as the fire raged. Hunt staff used a large horse lorry to move animals and were in the line of the fire's path. 15 crews and 85 firefighters were needed to put out the fire, which was declared a major incident. The fire damaged more than 20 acres of woodland and fields. Outgoing DEFRA politicians have rammed through legislation to protect beavers. With a new Prime Minister likely to announce a new team at the government department, politicians including George Eustace and Zach Goldsmith got the legislation passed. Both of these politicians frequently host meetings with animal rights extremists. From the 1st of October, it will be illegal to kill or harm beavers or damage breeding sites or even their resting places without a licence. The law lacks detail about the licensing system, and DEFRA says it will publish a management plan in due course. The government says there are as many as 800 beavers living wild in English waterways. Shooting Australia is launching a campaign to get the sport included in the Commonwealth Games in 2026. The Shoot for Games 2026 is focusing on social media after the Victorian government in Australia released the dates in March for the event. The Birmingham Commonwealth Games starts this weekend without shooting events, rumoured to be because of anti-gun sentiment in the City Council, which wants to distance itself from the city's heritage as a world gun-making centre. As a reaction to dropping shooting, India threatened to boycott Birmingham and then said it would run its own shooting events. But it didn't get agreement from Commonwealth Games organisers, so there'll be no shooting at the 2022 Commonwealth Games for the first time since 1970. Communities are the frontline conservationists. That's the message that African leaders heard at the IUCN Africa Protect Areas Congress in Rwanda. The conference split into those who want to manage African wildlife via grants from foreign charities and governments and those who want it to pay for itself. Delegates call this consumptive and non-consumptive use. The non-consumptive side of the conference hailed the formation of a Pan-African Conservation Trust in order to oversee the continent's national parks, which it claims needs $200 billion to achieve its aims. The consumptive use lobby, which includes hunters, game farmers and scientists, point out that their version of wildlife management is owned by local communities, will advance and amplify the growth of those communities, and reaches the parts that non-consumptive use, such as phototourism, cannot reach.
It will really look at innovative streams of financing which are sorely needed to make sure that conservation isn't a barrier to human development but is actually a vehicle to it.
Former government hunter Ron Thompson from Zimbabwe has produced a video to explain the crisis that elephants in southern Africa face. In the first of two videos, he looks at the damage that the overpopulation of elephants is doing to the Kruger National Park in South Africa. He looks at the reasons for that, including the increasing pressure from the Northern Hemisphere to protect elephants. He explains how wildlife management is the solution to the crisis and what will happen if the Southern African government continues to listen to animal rights extremists, especially those from Boris Johnson's government. There's a link to the video in the description below. Well worth a watch. A Scottish politician is calling for a cull of white-tailed eagles. SNP Westminster leader Ian Blackford is blaming the birds for the deaths of his lambs. 3 of almost 200 breeding pairs of the eagles live near Blackford's Croft on the Isle of Skye. He says they've killed up to 10 of his 60 lambs in the past month. He says the birds have been picking off the animals like Mars bars. The politician watched a recent attack. The birds of prey that he nicknames flying barn doors were extinct in Britain before a charity reintroduced them to Mull from Norway. Photos emerging from a heavily advertised anti-grouse shooting demo make it look more like a flop than a festival. Chris Packham led a list of heavyweight speakers at the free-to-enter Hen Harrier Fest near Macclesfield in Cheshire. Attendees from the shooting community who went along to take notes about the antis' arguments report that there were more speakers than audience, and that perhaps the success of hen harriers on gamekeepered grouse moors is finally getting through to Packham's supporters. One of the grouse moors, which wishes to remain unnamed for fear of reprisals from antis, sent us this video of a hen harrier overflying its nest full of chicks. For more about hen harrier brood management, there's a link in the description below. Australian anglers and surfers joined forces to rescue an osprey that had got into trouble. The bird was spotted with its feet and wings tangled in fishing line at North Stradbroke Island near Brisbane. Surfer Bill Lowe and his friend used their surfboards to paddle out to rescue the bird. A fisherman helped them untangle the osprey. It then hopped onto a surfboard to hitch a lift to shore. Photographer Barry Brown was able to capture the dramatic rescue before the bird flew off. Anglers from a Highland village have rolled up their sleeves and installed a wooden dog sculpture in response to what they describe as an eyesore public artwork walkway. Members of the Inverness Angling Club put up the Labrador statue made out of treated larchwood to brighten up the place. They took the action as they were horrified at the official art installation, which is part of the Ness River Arts project and cost £790,000. Unfortunately, the rebellious angling artists don't have permission from Highland Council. Councillors will make a decision about the canine creation when they meet in August. And finally, the first Scottish Tree Hugging Championships have taken place in a remote part of Scotland. It attracted more than 24 competitors. It included hugging as many trees as possible in 1 minute and the freestyle category. That's the most innovative way of hugging a tree. The Darach Forest Therapy and Darach Social Croft organised the event in association with Finland's World Tree Hugging Championships. Their aim is to boost well-being by encouraging people to connect with nature. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.
Buying shooting kits? Then head to Kitfinder and our team will help you find the right product at a fair price from dealers all over the UK. Kitfinder, the shooting kit comparison website.
If you'd like to buy that Bergara rifle, you can find stockists, that is, gun shops that actually have it in stock, by using our Kitfinder website. Link and QR code on screen. Later in the show, we have an Englishman out after African big game. Next, homegrown venison. Deer stalkers often complain about price. Our news correspondent Deborah Hadfield sets out to find out what supply and demand is like.
With the cost of living crisis starting to bite, I've been challenged with bringing home the most locally sourced, good value venison. Possibly the most underused, misunderstood meat. First up, the high street and supermarkets.
All the major stores stock venison. Everything from sausages to steaks. But where does it come from and what does it cost? Aldi, our cheapest supermarket, according to Which, also won Best Supermarket at this year's Eat Game Awards. It sells a whole range starting from as little as £2 for steaks at about £7 a kilo. A huge proportion of the venison sold in supermarkets does not come from the UK, but some of it is transported halfway around the world from farms in New Zealand. BASC says the food miles make this a poor choice with a healthy wild deer population.
It's always good to see venison on the market, regardless of where it comes from, because that gives the consumer the opportunity to buy venison, and that means that they develop a taste for it. And if we can educate them on the benefits of wild venison over farm venison from overseas, then that's really good.
The problem with cheap foreign venison is that it drives down the price of local venison. It prices wild-shot deer out of the mass market, as the supermarkets demand year-round availability. In 2007, Gordon Brown's government repealed the ban on selling game and venison out of season. So deer are shot in season, frozen and enter the food chain all year round. I want local, and when it comes to local, the easiest option is to take to social media. A good example is the private group on Facebook, Giving Up the Game. It was founded in 2016 by Billy Wyatt. The group is an online marketplace where anyone, providing they follow a few simple rules, can sell, give away, buy and acquire game and venison. For example, a recent post offered 4 good-sized Roebucks weighing up to 19 kilograms. They were £40 for unbutchered or £80 butchered, vacuum packed and labelled. It certainly ticks the cheap and local box. The only thing is, to get a real bargain, I might need some butchery skills.
That page has really introduced a huge amount of people to game, not just venison. But this is a professional meat industry, and it's not a byproduct. I hate that word, absolutely hate it. It is a professional meat industry. So we have to, even through those sort of pages, we have to be very careful and make sure that best practice is there. So those people on there have to be registered as a food business. You know, we must make sure that we're squeaky clean.
Another more kitchen-ready online alternative is companies that process and deliver venison. During the pandemic, Deerbox was one of several that started up. Fieldsport Channel has covered other stalkers who are registered as food businesses and pass the hygiene regulations, including Chiltern Venison and Dartmoor Deer Services. Companies soon realised that there was a real demand for venison. Unlike the supermarkets, Deerbox labels the meat according to the animal it comes from.
We like to separate because red deer, for example, has a slightly more irony flavour. And something like fallow, which is extremely mild, almost beef-like. Roe deer is finer textured, softer, but has that slightly darker and richer taste to it. And I don't know how to describe muntjac, it's just lovely.
Ben and his partner Mike Robinson are deer stalkers, and they also have another one on staff too, so they can meet the rising demand. They freeze meat during the culling season to ensure supplies all year round.
The most unusual customers are that we have a couple of vegans that for health reasons now need to consume animal proteins, and for them, if they have to do this, they want to know that it's been hunted, it's a wild animal, and that everything's been done correctly.
You know, because it's wild, because it doesn't have any additives, we're not feeding it, it doesn't get any medication. I'm not surprised that vegans are looking to try it because it actually fits their ethos and their ethics.
Deerbox is looking like a contender, but not everyone wants to buy such large quantities or pay for the premium service it offers. And we don't all have chest freezers.
Many local butchers do sell venison, but only in the winter. Owen Taylor's Butchers in Leabrook in Derbyshire sells it all year round.
The family butcher has been operating for 100 years. The great-grandfather of current managing director Richard Taylor started the business in 1922 on a farm in Derbyshire. It sells venison in its shops and also delivers to restaurants, pubs, schools, hospitals and universities.
I think people are starting to realise that game, especially venison, is a healthy option and a good value option as well.
Owen Taylor still purchases its meat from game dealers as local as possible.
There's more flavour, I think, with the wild venison. It's in such abundance, and the closer we can get it to source, we can tell people it's come from X, Y, Z. It's just better all round.
The company has seen a rise in the demand for venison. It sells everything from a whole red deer carcass for the freezer to a venison pie for just £3.45.
We certainly are attracting more on the catering side. The shop side, very good at Christmas time, winter time more so than now, and yet you can have a venison steak through the sun on a barbecue.
If I want to buy venison that grows on the hills and in the woodland near where I live, I can, from steaks to burgers and even with a small budget. As butchers such as Owen Taylor and companies like Deerbox thrive, it's becoming easier to get venison all year round.
These venison steaks from Owen Taylor's are a perfect example of local, sustainable and good value. Perfect for the Fieldsports barbecue.
Thanks, Deborah, and all who took part in that. And you can support our news features by joining the Fieldsports Nation. It's less than £5 a month and you get a prize draw every week in our exclusive Tuesday night show, Fieldsports Extra. This week it's a £120 Force 20 trailcam from Spypoint, kindly donated by Staffordshire gun shop Bailey's Shooting and Country Wear, which has a stand at the game fair this weekend and welcomes visits from Fieldsports Channel viewers. Now, trophy hunting. I join a bunch of school leavers who are learning to do it professionally. Go big game hunting in Africa, and you might get a professional hunter and a tracker. As a guest at the Northern Cape Professional Hunting School, Ollie Williams gets 6 PHs.
I think the plan for today is a big kudu bull or a nice waterbuck bull, depending on what the guys what we bump into. Guys? I mean, you've got a plan. We're gonna head up. Is it head up the mountain?
Yes, the plan. What we're going to do, Ollie, is we're going to start here at boat launch, because the kudus and waterbuck bulls are going to be in the cliffs, and then we're going to work away at the side of the cliffs all the way to the top of the mountain, and then go back down again.
So basically,
I think we're going to find
we'll see them by then.
Yeah.
Cool. And then we're quite a big group. Is that going to be? Are we going to stalk in?
No.
With this
what
many
we're
people?
going to do, if we identify the animal, half of the group's going to stay back, and then 3 guys will stalk the
Make
animal.
the final stalk. Cool.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
The trainee PHs, all of them school leavers, take turns to guide. Richard is up first, and his first spot is this kudu bull.
He's old, yeah, but he's not very big. He's quite wide, but we can probably do better. And that's what we're after this morning. We're after a big trophy bull, so we're gonna leave that one.
Now you may be thinking to yourself, that Ollie, he's a trophy hunter. And he is. And he's also a meat hunter and a management hunter. The animal he shoots is going to make way for another animal to take its place in the herd. It's going to end up in local supermarkets, and its horns are going to hang on the wall at Ollie's home in the UK. Despite the efforts of comedians and politicians to make the horns on an antelope's head something shameful, you can be all of those things at the same time. Horns are a good way not only to judge an animal, but to price an animal. Those prices pay for wildlife conservation, a fact that some comedians and politicians unfortunately refuse to accept. The students at the school learn how to judge and to price animals at hundreds of metres.
Richard, what does a good kudu bull look like?
Okay, so we always want to hunt mature kudu bulls that's past their prime.
Yeah.
So there's 2 things we look at. We look at the thick secondary growth on the base of the horns,
Yeah.
and the tip of the horns to become white and looking forward, because then they've completed their curls.
Yeah.
And then we know it's a mature bull. So
And they won't curl more than that?
No. Then they'll be finished growing, yeah.
Brilliant, so that's what and then width and stuff like that?
Yeah, width, it's depending on the genes of the
Yeah.
kudu bull, but if it's pointing forwards, then you know it's an old bull, it's mature bull.
Richard guides Ollie onto another kudu. This one is better, and Ollie has a chance on it.
We spotted a nice mature bull, and then we decided to make a stalk on. We came up over the ridge, and they'd obviously just slightly moved. Well, there's another group that we didn't quite see, so we bumped them, and then they bumped all the way down the valley and cleared out. And he did actually stand broadside, but it was about 300 metres. So.
Next stop is the top of a small hill. It gives Ollie and the gang a vast view of southern Africa.
I reckon I can see probably 10,000 acres of ground from this one spot. It's just huge country. We've been glassing for a couple of minutes. It's a big area we're glassing over, and we've just spotted a waterbuck at about probably 1,000 yards.
That's the first game to consider. There's more.
Just tell me what we spotted here.
We spotted some kudu cows, and they're 2 bulls. We don't know if they're big enough to shoot.
Yeah.
They're too young yet, but I think it's smart to check it out eventually.
So we've got a bit of a dilemma here. What are we looking at the moment?
We have a waterbuck bull over here, and then kudu over here, but they're both too far.
To really work out. So now we're going to ignore both and go a different way completely.
Yeah.
That's hunting for you.
Kudu are a tricky animal. Hard to hunt. They're called the grey ghosts of Africa. So, you see one and then it's gone. But judging a kudu, you want an old bull, and preferred you want deep curls and ivory on the top. So, you just look for that when you go hunting. The kudu like the mountains, and they can obviously get up there a lot easier than we can. It's being able to stalk them from below and find your way up the mountain really helps, especially in this terrain.
The plan is walk down the valley at the bottom of the hill, which reveals yet more game.
We've just seen another group of kudu. Re-spotted 2 bulls. This one we're looking at is a bit small, and he's looking at us. So if we were going to make a stalk, it'd be a hard stalk up the mountain, and we're not even sure if the other bull's necessarily a shooter. Plus they've seen us. So instead we're going to continue with our plan and go down through the valley.
Continue with the plan. How often has British foreign policy foundered on the rocks and shoals of the safe option? 2 of our PHs went off scouting and returned with bad news.
Radio don't work.
Huh?
Radio wasn't working.
Yeah. The 2 that I saw in you saw ran up this way, and then I think you guys put a bachelor herd of waterbuck bulls because they came running over the mountain down towards us.
We it basically. The radio it. Well, the radios, as always, didn't work. So those guys were communicating with us that they were seeing game running over the top, and we didn't get the message.
It's time to swap PHs. Next up is Reese, who has come to the school from Texas. No more marching in plain sight for Reese. She leads us into a swamp.
I'm getting your shoes wet, it's not that deep.
I don't mind.
It's worth getting our feet wet. On the other side of the swamp is a group of kudu.
Yeah, they're all looking at us. The cows on the right also looking at us.
Reese guides Ollie up a small bank and, cresting it, he's less than 50 metres from the bull animal he came for.
Well, Reese brought us into an incredibly close range, and we had the cows and the bulls in front of us at about 50 yards. Some were even closer, up to 30 yards. And the bull was just behind a hedge, and as soon as he got out of the hedge, Reese got the sticks up and I shot him. Shot felt pretty good. He reacted, kicking and bucking the way you'd like, and I think he just dropped down in here. But yeah, the shot felt good. I think he's down here.
It is indeed no more than 50 metres from where Ollie shot it.
Great job, Reese. What a stalk. What a cool stalk that was.
Well done, Ollie.
Yeah, thanks, man.
That's a beautiful
Yeah.
So we saw them up on the mountain, and we knew there was a herd, but we didn't know how many there were. We see the big bull, a bull that was old, its horns were good. We checked it out, and then we decided we should go for it. You know, the sun was almost down, so time was of the essence. So we just decided that we would walk through the riverbed and then stalk them up the mountain. We had to be very quiet and had to make sure that, you know, we could get up there in time with the light. And so we stalked up the mountain, and then once we got to the top, we peeked over about 30 meters out. They were up there. The bull was behind a bush, but he came out right in time.
So speechless is the word. I really am. Speechless. It was just exactly the bull we're looking for. Old, mature, curls facing forwards. Can I help? I'm just talking right now.
If you are leaving school and thinking of something to do, you can learn to be a professional hunter too. It's a 7-month course. It costs $14,000 if you're from outside South Africa, and at the end of it you'll be qualified to join the 65,000 people in South Africa alone who work in wildlife management. Or whatever you do with your life, you'll know how to deal with large African animals. Visit ncph.co.za. Thanks to all at the school, especially camera woman Kayla van Vuren, who filmed a lot of that. Now, thanks to Kitfinder, we're finding out a lot more about what Fieldsports Channel viewers are buying. David went to Cluny Country to learn about rangefinders.
Do people have an idea about what they want before they come in?
Generally, yes. Yeah, I would say so. Whether you get a call or when someone comes in, they maybe want to look at a particular set, whether it's Zeiss, Swarovski, Leica, Callas. But then, because we have them and we're never biased, we want people to try. We have an optics gallery here, and sometimes just getting them in their hands can be the difference. For instance...
Really? So it's really a tactile thing, you think? It's sort of almost like it fits them?
Yeah, 100%. Like of the other day, I had a customer that came in, he was actually looking at Swarovski rangefinders and he wanted to try all three, Swarovski, Zeiss and Leica. And then he ended up choosing the Leica because of their unique shape. They've done quite a funky shape there that you can see, which obviously incorporates the rangefinders into them. Whereas he liked that slightly better than the Swarovskis, which are slightly bulkier at the bottom. But against that, I've had a customer before doesn't like the eye relief of the geovids. He just couldn't really get the whole picture nice and clear, which obviously you want, especially in a hunting situation. And he would spin the Swarovskis out and just get the full picture straight away. And then it was just easy use and comfort. So in terms of fit, definitely. There's definitely an element of that. They're all very, very clever bits of kit. I would definitely say that. There are differences, likes of the Swarovskis, their new ELTAs, EL trackers. They have a tracking system in them, which is quite amazing, which from where your last reading was taken, it will show you the exact location from that. So it helps you find the beasts if you're struggling. Zeiss, they have an impressive hunting app where it's all, you can do everything on your phone. The Geovids, 3200.coms, they have pretty amazing ballistic systems. And that actually is a good selling point for them. A lot of people are into doing all the ballistic side of things, and they are really, really great for that.
Okay then, Robbie, so when it comes to price point, what are we looking at here?
We are looking at Callas, you're in around the £1,400 mark, and then I would say probably all three brands you're about up to £2,500, give or take slight variations. But yeah, in around that ballpark.
Thank you, Robbie. And you can follow the link in the description below to find out about Cluny Country's rangefinders, or you can head for kitfinder.co.uk and search for the one you want. Now, from shooting kit to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, brought to you by James Marchington, it is Hunting YouTube.
This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the top hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. First up, after a gap of several months, Billy Moles is back with this film about hunting brown bear in Alaska. Meanwhile, in Australia, feral vertebrate reduction contracting, there's a catchy name, is shooting feral pigs with a .308 rifle from a helicopter in northern Queensland. Back to the UK, and Malk Walker sends us his latest video, where he's called out to a small holding that's losing chickens to a vixen and her cub. Fieldsports with speed isn't what you might imagine from the name. In this one, Rob Speed is having a great day's pigeon shooting over laid wheat. If you're lucky enough to have any pheasants or partridges this year, cartridge manufacturer Ely Hawk is offering a series of game recipes with Chef James Golding. This one's for pheasant fingers. Spanish hunter Pedro Ampuero visits the UK for a friend's wedding and takes the opportunity to hunt muntjac in the Cotswolds. My Outdoor TV have posted this full episode of Bone Collector, so you can watch it without paying for a subscription. It features bow hunting white-tailed deer from a tree stand in Wyoming. Finally, Born and Raised Outdoors has this compilation of their best elk hunting moments, packing 20 kills into a 20-minute video. That's it for this week. We've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the eye symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you'd like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email Charlie the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv.
Well, that's it for this week. If you haven't done so, please whiz over to our website, where you can click to like us on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube. Best of all, pop your email address into our register page and we'll contact you about this show, Fieldsports Britain. It's at 7 p.m. UK time every Wednesday. And I might see you this weekend at the Game Fair, where I'm hosting the Carter Jonas Game Fair Theatre all weekend, with guests including Adam Henson from BBC Country File, a bloke from the RSPB, and the man made of Marmite, Nigel Farage, to talk about sea angling. I'll see you there if you are coming. If not, I'll see you next week. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.